to the Wall, episode number 34, excuse me, on this very hot Thursday in the Metroplex. I'm Kenny Matthews, your host, and my sidekick, my co-host over here, Billy Martin Jr. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here on the Nolan Ryan edition of the show.
Well, I appreciate you taping on a Thursday since I just got back from a little brief vacation, picking out a little wedding destination out in Pensacola. We did do that, mixed in a lot of, say, adult libation. And for me, it was the longest that I probably have not been locked into sports, 24/7 in my life. It felt kind of good. I'm not going to say that that's something I want to incorporate though into my life just yet. But it was nice. I got surprised at a few things and said, oh, I didn't see that. And I was like, wow. The hotel room did not have ESPN, none of the ESPNs in the room. So that was one thing that was kind of a blessing. No TNT, no TBS. So we just watched a lot of stuff that we normally wouldn't watch, which was kind of cool. So yeah, it was a good time by all. But yes, we are back here. And like I said, episode 34, Billy, we're rolling. It's been nice. And hey, I know a lot of you guys would like to help us out. And we would like for you guys to subscribe to us. Just press the like button and make a comment. That's the key thing. We need you to make a comment on there for us. That would help us out tremendously. It can be an emoji. It could be any comment that you want. You can tell us we're idiots or you can tell us we're geniuses. We don't care about that. We just want to hear what you want us to talk about going forward over there. And you can do that on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. We would greatly appreciate that. And Billy, wow, I would say that I did come back yesterday and sat down on the couch and I thought that Grizzly Golden State game might be a good game. And wow. It was a 50-point lead at one time for Memphis over Golden State. And I mean, the Grizzlies did this without their best, he's arguably a top 3 best player in the NBA, Jay Morant. He didn't even play. And so, I mean, Golden State definitely didn't. They may have gotten off the plane, but they left their game back on the plane because it was never close last night. And I mean, I was stunned when I saw 55-point lead by the Grizzlies over Golden State.
And that just seems, as insane as that seems, we just saw that happen. We saw the Dallas Mavericks win a game without Luka Doncic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't ever remember that happening back in the day.
No.
Did the Lakers ever win a game without Magic or the Celtics ever win a game without Bird?
They did win one without Kareem one time in 1980, though.
Right, but because Magic was so damn magic,
yes,
he could play center. And
yes, he did.
Went from point guard to center. Like, that happens all the damn time.
Yeah, I really had to do a double take and look at that score, and I wish I would have been smart enough to take a picture of it because I'm thinking, this is the second round of the playoffs. You're supposed to be really, really good, and you're looking at that ledger and go, there's no reason for us to call a timeout. We're down 55. We ain't winning this game. And then not to have your best player playing, that's the other thing that I couldn't believe. And then, boy, I'll tell you one thing, man, what was really exciting was that Boston Celtic Milwaukee Buck game. I mean, the Celtics look like they had control of this game. They go into the fourth quarter with a 14-point lead on the Parka, in Boston. And guess what? The Greek Freak says, I know you guys forget about me sometimes up in Milwaukee, but you know what? I'm pretty good. And 40 points and 11 rebounds later, and the Bucks still won on the road. Man, it's going to be tough for Boston now, down 3-2 to win in Milwaukee now.
No, I don't think it's happening. I'm Milwaukee. I'm just throwing the ball to the Greek Freak every time we get down the court. The main reason Donnie Nelson isn't the Dallas Mavericks general manager anymore because Mark Cuban didn't trust him to take the Greek Freak.
God, yeah.
Hey, see my thumb? Gee, you're dumb.
For all the times that Cuban has rolled sevens, he rolled snake eyes on that one, didn't he? For Boston, I mean, we looked at that New Jersey series, the way they swept them, and we thought they were the odds-on favorite to maybe represent the East, and now they're on the brink of elimination here. And I mean, I didn't see that, and especially with Milwaukee, with Middleton not playing in this series, for Milwaukee. I mean, that's huge. So kudos to the Bucks. I mean, they had a built-in excuse not to compete in this series when one of their second best player wasn't going to be able to play in it. And knock on wood, dude, they've had some guys step up and play big roles and win. And man, anytime you can win at Boston in a playoff game, I know it's not what it used to be, but it still carries some big weight.
Absolutely. No, it's been an exciting playoff. I mean, come on. Why don't we just condense the last 2 minutes of all these games?
Yeah.
Put them together in one big block. And answer me this, you guys. If we put the last 2 minutes of every playoff together, maybe deleting the commercials and the timeout.
Yes, I was going to say, you're going to have to delete the commercials.
and just show the last 2 minutes of all the games, maybe with a 10-second synopsis of what was going on before. And who wouldn't watch that? I mean, I would watch that every time.
It's almost be like the NCAA one shining moment, that they always do at the end, all the highlights of the tournament. I mean, that's a pretty good idea. Really do.
That's on video, everybody. So that means I've trademarked it. So if anybody's trying to steal that, you've got to cut that.
And I'm the witness to that. I'm willing to testify for that. This time last week, I guess last Thursday, a lot of people here in Dallas did not think that the Mavericks had a shot with the Suns. They came back home this weekend, beat them, beat them twice back to back Sunday pretty handedly. Then they went up to Phoenix the other night, and again, they got off the plane, but they left their games in the plane because they got blown out Central. And I will say this, I'm kind of been hard on Chris Paul. I know a lot of people want to put him in the top 10 all time as a point guard. My stipulation is you need to win a championship before you can be considered a top in that position. And he hasn't sniffed that out at all. So until he does, he's not going to move into the top 10, in my point guards. The only point guard I have in the top 10 that's never won a championship is John Stockton. And he ran into this guy named Michael Jordan twice. In the finals. So, but I mean, you have to give him kudos, man. He's played outstanding, this year. And the guy's 37 years old, 38 years old, and still making plays like that. The point guard position, not bad.
Absolutely.
Not bad at all. And I think now the Mavericks will respond in game 6. I think when you get your doors blown off on the road, you get everybody's attention in the plane on the way back. And I think that they will. Now, what'll be interesting is if they do win on game 6, will they have a shot out in Phoenix in game 7? I probably lean no.
Those guys can't miss at home.
No.
It just feels that way. I mean, obviously, we're Dallas fans,
right.
But man, it just feels like they can't miss at home, and it matters.
Does it seem like they're always down 10 or 12 or 13 early, and like they're trying to climb out of that hole at Phoenix? It's like the Mavericks if there's a game 7, they have to be close after the first quarter because it hasn't been that way yet out in Phoenix, Yeah. Oh, I did want to say a couple other things, man. Kudos to, Nikola Jokic, the center from Denver. I mean, that Serbian now has got back-to-back MVPs. I mean, you're putting yourself in an exclusive club when you've got multiple MVPs in basketball. And I mean, I know a lot of people don't talk about him. A lot of people don't say anything because he's a center that got his back to the wall, to the goal these days. But man, let me tell you something. that guy's footwork, man, is second to none in the NBA. And kudos to him. And he's a young. I mean, he may be adding to, these MVPs before long. I mean, I don't think it's over.
How many centers do we even talk about in today's game? I mean,
Embiid, you talk about Embiid, you talk about Jokic. I mean, Anthony Davis. If you think he's a center,
sure.
I don't know if he's really considered a center to me or not. So,
well, there's so many that end up being perimeter shooters now.
Right.
The game's mutated quite a bit. They're hardly ever the downstairs bangers we're used to. So
those guys couldn't get drafted high enough back in the day. Now those guys are looking at G League and overseas. It's crazy how it changed. I could think back to the coin flip for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What kind of change was that for Milwaukee, and the change it was for Phoenix for not getting, losing it, losing the flip. Can you imagine if Kareem would have started in Phoenix? What would that franchise been? It's weird. It's just not that kind of game anymore. It's mind-boggling to me. It really is. I did want to give kudos to the NBA. They named the East and Western Finals trophies today. Did you see that note? They renamed them. You're going to like this. The Western Conference Trophy now is going to be called Magic Johnson Trophy going forward. Awesome. And I bet you know what the East is going to be called now.
It's got to be his nemesis, right? Is it Larry?
Larry Bird. Yes, it is.
That's so awesome.
All right.
Two of my all-time favorite players.
Yep.
That is such great news.
That was a great touch for the NBA to do that now, so that way everybody will know about this new trophy celebration, when the East and the West is finally concluded. But hey, let's give the commissioner credit. I know we kind of get hard on these guys from time to time, but that's a great public relations maneuver. And I know you and I are big on having leagues do the things right with public relations. And with you being in media and doing stuff behind the scenes, and TV and everything, you know the importance of that.
Oh, and they do so many of them so wrong for the wrong reasons. And, could you pick two better ambassadors than those two guys?
Polar opposites.
Right. Yeah. College rivals straight into being pro rivals, and actually are friends and
best of friends. One drives a limousine and the other one drives an '88 pickup truck.
Exactly. One of my favorite moments was when they were on the USA basketball team together, and they're both starters on my top 5 all-time NBA players team.
And I don't know if you saw that list that came out. They said the best trash talkers of all time. Larry Bird was number 1. The slow, the slow net, the slow French lick knit, that's out there. You would never thought he'd be the best trash talker, dude. And he was voted that way from his peers. And it's just great because I do think that, not only did they save the NBA, but they also crossed the racial problems that the NBA was having at that time. They kind of helped mend a little bit of that. They got a little of the drug gangster mentality that had been there in the late 60s and throughout the 70s. And then when they came into the league, dude, they kind of, got that perception out of the league. So, I think it's great for the ambassadors. As much as I like Jerry West being the logo, these guys being on those trophies is pretty nice, man.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Outstanding.
Yep. We do appreciate you guys listening to us. So when you like to help us out here, we'd like for you to subscribe and press the like button. Press down on there, make a comment. It can be an emoji, anything that would really help us out on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And man, let's get to some balls and strikes, Billy, because I've got a lot of just little nuggets that I saw all over here. And I want to lead with this because this is great. Mr. Christian Yelich, he gets his third cycle yesterday in his career, which I think is outstanding already, a feat of three. But the part that I really thought was interesting, they've all come against the Reds. That's just mind-boggling to me that you have three cycles against the same team. And I'm liking it because at the beginning of the year when Christian was not hitting, everybody kept saying it's his back problems that he's had the last couple of years. He wasn't hitting the ball with any authority. And I saw them on MLB Network about 3 weeks talking about that. He seems like he's hitting the ball with authority again, and that's huge for the Brewers. If he's anything close to what he was 3 years ago when he won the MVP in the National League, man, the Brewers are going to be really good because that starting pitcher for them is outstanding.
Oh, absolutely. And they're really unique. And I was talking to one of their scouts yesterday, actually. And if you look at their drafts, one of their philosophies is they're not taking pitchers really high in the draft. They're not going after the Jack Lighters as much, and they're really high. Mm-hmm. And high school pitchers, a little lower in the draft,
Gotcha.
And developing. And they've done such a good job with it. It's a neat philosophy.
Ain't broke. Don't tweak it.
I'm amazed, but when you talk about Yelich, the one guy still scratched my head how the Marlins traded the 26-year-old when you're getting a little younger, but I mean, come on, he was younger than half that on the team.
Yeah.
You don't trade the two-time MVP. You dance with him till he's gone. You look at that trade; they really didn't get anything for him.
No, and that kind of counterproductive when you're a small market city and you groom a guy from the minors to get there, then he's an established star. That's you're preaching cornerstone. Get people around this guy in his prime, and what do? See you later. I mean, it defeats everything that you said the last 3 or 4 years that, this is what we're going to do. And then it's the Pittsburgh Pirate syndrome. Even when they sign their guys, young guys for 4 and 5 year deals, they get tired of losing and they force the ownership's hand to get rid of them. So, there's no guarantee that they're going to stay, even if they sign a 5 or 6 year deal because, they're tired of losing. I think a prime example of that might be, and I'll get to that a little bit later, is like Joey Votto. But we'll get to him in a minute. But, I can't, I'm just happy that he's back. He seems like he's back. Anytime you have a back injury the way he did, and I mean, obviously it hurt him the last couple of years. There's no question about that. And Milwaukee's not one of those teams that are going to give out big contracts, but they did to Christian. So, I like this. I'm glad that he's back because he's good for the game and he's a good patron too.
It's just amazing to me though how people in this game just throw in the towel on a guy. Like, oh, he's done. He's lost it. He's turned the corner. It's over. Hey, Major League Baseball's hard. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, they all got in slumps. Yes. They all had bad days.
Yes,
And,
yes,
the hardest part of the game, to be real honest, is dealing with that failure. Yeah. Being that guy that can go out and hit for the cycle on any given day. Right. To go out there every day batting in the 3-hole, hitting a buck something.
Right.
That can mess with your mind and your heart, and guys like that are used to that. So knowledge for fighting through it, believing in himself, and getting back to being the MVP type guy he is.
And I think you brought up a great point about the slumps. That's one thing about the analytics that are out there now. You find out that you may be hitting the ball hard, but right at people. So maybe it's not really a slump. It's just bad luck. So, that mentally, back in the day when they didn't have those stats, I'm sure it really wore on the guy when he's sitting on the road in his hotel room at 12 o'clock going, I won from my last 16. But when we analyze the bats, maybe he hit 9 of those really hard, but just had nothing to show for it. That's probably really good, for the guys now that are dealing with slumps.
Well, it's a hard game.
Yeah.
Look how many of these uber prospects that are just thrown into starting positions, right? And they're batting under 200, and they're getting sent down, and oh my, he's not the guy we thought he was. Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Here's what happened. He got to the big leagues. They found out he had a hole on the upper inside part of the plate. Guess what? Everybody started pounding that hole. And he didn't learn to make that adjustment. And he's getting sent back down to AAA. And he'll figure it out. He'll come back. Most of them do, but you're crazy to just think these guys are going to step right in and be an all-star because, wow.
You make a great point with that. Seattle showed a little patience with the Rodriguez kid in center field. Man, he wasn't hitting the ball at all, a couple weeks back. Now the guy's hitting, the last 14 or so games, he's hitting 3-something, I'm like, Seattle could have easily said, hey, we got to send you down, refine your stuff. You're losing your confidence, and kudos to them for keeping them in the lineup because now they're getting rewarded with it.
Well, they got 2 other ones they're going to have to send down, and Jared Kalenic, who is going to be the next superstar, and he'll figure it out back at AAA and come up be a nice player. They had to send their top catching prospect Cal Raleigh down. That's going to be really good one day. But it's called hardball for a reason. It's not easy.
And that was a brutal road trip they just got back from. Man, they did not play well on that road trip. Dude. That was a long flight back to Seattle on Sunday night, man. I said, ouch. But I also wanted to say prayers for Bob Melvin. He had prostate surgery yesterday. Hope everything's going to be well. We're not sure when he's going to get back, but you and I both have talked about our affiliation, our appreciation of what Bob Melvin is. He's good. He's a good guy. He's a good baseball guy. And, I saw that this morning and was like, wow, I didn't really realize that he had been out for a couple of days. So hopefully everything is good and he's going to be able to come back to the game. But, reality hits again in the baseball world, so hopefully he'll hang in there. And then I was going to say, I kind of got surprised when I got off the plane yesterday and I'm sitting down here looking around. Guardians, White Sox postponed due to COVID. It kind of surprised me when I saw that. I go, wow, I used to see this a lot.
Well, I looked at the date on the page. I was looking at it, like, wait a minute, is this from last year?
And I did a little bit more. I started doing some more reading, and then they were saying, hey, this is not going to be the last game, but it just kind of reminded me that COVID is still around. I was in Florida for 5 days, and it was the first time I'd flown on a plane in over 2 years without a mask. And then there was hardly any mask on the plane. There was no mask hardly in Florida. And I kept thinking, we beat this thing, right? It's gone, right? And then I look up and I get in, I go, no, it's still hanging around.
It is, but it's not the same COVID.
Yeah. And the best thing is the deaths are down. That to me is the key, is the deaths are down from it. Obviously we're getting better to treating it. We're getting, people are getting in quicker, and it's, people are vaccinated, to a portion. So I mean, I know we're not ahead of the game, but at least we're not getting lapped by it anymore. And that's what's encouraging to me. Did you see where the Cubs shortstop Nico Horner ran into the umpire in center field and got hurt yesterday? The second base umpire. I've never seen a center fielder, I mean, a shortstop, run into an umpire in center field before, Billy. I mean,
Well,
it looked like it could have been a lot worse than it was. It seems like he just rolled his ankle up and he's going to be out maybe day to day, a couple of days. But I just hadn't seen that before. And kudos to the umpire. He felt horrible for his positioning and he felt really bad that he got the way. But why was
he
he
should
so
have.
far out there?
Well, no, hey, well, kudos to him for being out there and having that. Look, that's something I think is going to be addressed soon with the umpires union. I've actually been talking to some people in the union lately.
Nice.
There's a chance that Billy Martin III is becoming an umpire one day. So we thought that might be the greatest oxymoron in history. And anyway,
You're really, really wrestling with your dad. You're really messing with your dad on that. You
uh,
can't do that.
I think he would love it actually. But that's something they're looking for more in the game is more agile umpire, so that guys aren't getting hurt. But they need to make that run. They need to get down that line to see if that ball's buried. Now it's a timing thing. You've got to run, right? But while you're running, what's going on? Your head's bouncing.
Yes.
So you got to run. You got to time it. You got to see the ball. Then you got to stop, get so that you can see what's going on, assess, and make your call.
Sure.
And like if you're watching the game, an ump's a rookie or full of himself or both when as soon as the guy catches the ball, he's ringing him up. Sees, goes to the line, makes the call. And you assess the play, make the call. That's what you're taught. But they want guys that are in shape. They want guys that can get down the line and get the way of the players because,
Right.
What if that was Christian Yelich in the middle of his bid for another, cycle, and oh gosh, he's gonna have to leave the game in the seventh inning.
Can you imagine an owner of one of those high-priced players getting hurt because he ran into an umpire?
Oh, think what Steinbrenner would have done. I mean,
talk about getting ostracized in the city. Hey, speaking of first-round draft picks, what about the Angels rookie Reed Detmers the other day with the no against the Rays on Saturday? I mean, he was 2-4 with a 5.something ERA. There was talk that maybe they were going to send him down to the minors. He pitches the first, I say, single person no. We had the Mets do it a few weeks ago when they had the 5 players that combined on a no hitter. I saw the stat line and I thought was really nice over here, Billy. It almost reminded me of an old school no. 1 base on balls and 2 Ks. A lot of balls in play. I mean, there was 24 outs because balls were put in play. We always talk about throwing strikes and letting your defense play defense behind you. It worked out for this guy right here.
Well, and off the record, I cannot talk about have more hitters. But so many things have to go right for it to happen. It's such a game of, I don't even want to say inches because it's less than inches. But you know what it reminded me of course, being in the Angel uniform, I just recently saw Nolan Ryan's new autobiography, and I learned so many things. And I miss Ryan, and I think the absolute world of it. I can tell you how embarrassed I was when I was representing their manager and was running through the clubhouse one day and walked right into him as he's coming out of the shower, ran right into his chest. Thank God he had a towel on. And he goes, "You okay, little buddy?" Yes, sir, Mr. Ryan. But it reminded me of him in that autobiography because when he was with the Mets, even though they won a World Series in '69 and he was part of that, he didn't believe he was going to stick. He was studying to be a veterinarian
Yeah,
at night.
he was going to study to be a vet.
And then he gets traded to the Angels, and he had such big stuff. He had control issues, but all of a sudden, a no-hitter. All of a sudden, less than a month later, another one. I think they were the two closest together pitchers ever had in history. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, hell, I might be pretty good at this game, And he stuck. And maybe we're going to see some amazing things from this kid, or maybe we just saw that stars were aligned perfectly. And it all.
But one thing I do know from what you just prior said, the Milwaukee Brewers wouldn't have drafted him because he was coming from Louisville, the University of Louisville in the first round. So, but I will say this: the Angels did double down. They had 20 draft picks this past year. They drafted 20 pitchers. So.
And that's so neat. We should probably do a show on that one day because Bill Dean talking about just drafting college players. Well, then everybody started doing this, right? Then I watched Logan White, who was the director for the Los Angeles Dodgers, step back and go, since they're all drafting the top college guys, I'm going to draft all the best high school guys. And he tore up a couple drafts there and put some great players together that we're seeing come to fruition now.
Sure.
Everybody's kind of coming up with their own little theory and way to make it work. And I love that. I love what LA did. Let's take a swing at that.
Yeah.
I might even take the opposite approach and say, let's just draft all backs. And
I mean, I think that Manai out there, he's been getting just absolutely ripped for the lack of pitching for so long. And he keeps acquiring talent. He acquired the Uptons and all those kind of guys that come over and play. He's thinking, well, I can always acquire an offensive guy, but I have absolutely no pitching at all, besides, Ohtani, going in. And you really couldn't count on Ohtani pitching the way he has this year because he was kind of mixed bag at times last year, his first go around. But man, he's locked in now on the pitching side.
You need to count on one of the best two hitters in all of baseball to be your best pitcher, too?
No kidding.
Okay, go for
it. No kidding. Kudos to one of our favorite pitchers of our time. I shouldn't say our time, but Justin Verglander. I mean, he took a no into the 8th the other night for the Red Hot Astros. I mean, I was doing my notes. They had won 8 in a row, but now let's make that 9 in a row since they beat the Twins again today in the suspended game. We don't get many suspended games anymore, Billy. That was really weird seeing them start in the 4th inning today. I said we don't normally get that, and I'm thinking that Perez, he was very happy with that because he had 3 RBIs, so he gets to keep those bad boys. But again, we talked about at the beginning of the season, we thought the Stros were not going to go away. They kind of slumped a little out of the gate there a little bit, but they seem to be getting their sea legs back. And they're getting some really good starting pitching in this 9-game win streak that they've been on. So kudos to Verlander, though. I mean, at 38 years old, coming off Tommy John, he still got it, man.
Oh, yeah, he still got it. He still got it. The worst mustache in baseball, Nestor Cortez, brought one into the 8th or 7th against the Rangers. But I did just notice, and just to remind everybody that old guys rule. Who's the top of the American League West? Oh, well, that would be Dusty Baker, old guy. Wait, who's the top of the National League East? Oh, that would be Buck Showalter's club.
Yeah, I was going to talk about them. Yep.
I mean, our team is only in second base division. Tony La Russa's 2 games behind the Minnesota Twins. And
And considering their awful start that the White Sox got off to, for them to only be 2 games out, that's really good because, yeah, I mean, they got off to a horrific start. But now I will say the White Sox have been just absolutely crushed with injuries at the beginning of the year too. So, yeah. I mean, that's led to that, obviously. I mean, when they get those guys back, they get Lynn back maybe within, maybe the end of the month. You get the guy
Jimenez.
Yes, Jimenez. I mean, they're going to be good. And you had a chance. We said it last week. You have a chance to lose the pennant in April, but, the Twins or whoever in that division had a chance of trying to maybe bury the White Sox early, and they didn't do it. So now you're going to have to mess with them during the summer. I don't think anybody in the division is going to beat them this summer at all. I really don't. I did also want to say another thing about. Go ahead.
Because so many teams try to bring in young, new, upstart manager, and he just saw and there's something about it, and guys being around the block a little bit, and there's proof going on right now.
Yeah. Best record of baseball is the Yankees. I know I came on this show about a month ago and blasted the hell out of them for their lineup and the swing and miss and all that other stuff. But I've been eating that crow the last 3 weeks pretty good.
I don't think we should. They're also leading the free world in home runs. And is that going to continue?
No,
no, it's not. I mean, they're gonna hit their funks too. So
the only difference I would say between this year and maybe the last couple of years Yankee team, it seems like though the pitching staff is really, really good. I mean, they're now not relying on just one and maybe a 1A kind of guy. I mean, their starters, man, they got the second best ERA in the American League. I mean, you brought up Nestor. I mean, he's probably been their best pitcher so far. And then he's number 4 behind, Talion, Serviano, and Cole. I mean, not bad. And Jordan Montgomery's pitched really well. I mean, that's to me that, makes them a little different. And that guy that we talked about, Ian, he's becoming a hero now in the Bronx now. And he's playing great defense. Their defense is better because they don't have Sanchez behind the home plate. Aaron Hicks is in center field. He's at a plus, center fielder defensively. He may not be hitting that great, but for the defense, he's really good. So you've improved 4 up the middle. Gleyber Torres going to second base, and having the pitcher that, hey, they played good defense. So that's the reason why I think they're a little bit better than they have been maybe in the last couple of years.
Yep. Well, Ed, you're absolutely right. They're better defense. They're getting pitching, and they're leading the free world in home runs. All 3 usually mean something good's happening. Oh, yeah. And I do not expect to see them in a year, but there's no way they're going to be playing at a 7 win all year. I mean,
and when you have an older team, inevitably you're going to get some injuries. They're going to be littered out throughout the year. You're going to have to count on some young players to play. I did think that one of the things about them is that, the beginning of the season, a lot of pundits picked the Jays to win this division. The Yankees now are 6-3 against the Jays, in the 9 games they have played. That goes a long way, down the road, those games, because it's, you mentally, this better than, this as good as I do, if not better. It becomes a mental hurdle sometimes with a team, to go in there and try to win. And to try to win games in September against the team that you're trying to chase, it becomes a little bit harder because you lost these games earlier in the season.
Sure. And funny because everybody wants to act like, it is what it is. That's what. But then you'll start hearing guys say, well, they've kind of got our number this year, Well, they've already mentally knocked you down a slot right there.
Yes, they did. And I thought it was huge for the Yankees to go into Toronto last week and take 2 out of 3. And I mean, and they lost a 1-run game on that Wednesday. I let them know, the Jays, I believe, only scored 4 runs in 3 games. You do that at Old Rogers Center, that I still call it. You do that in that yard out there, man. That tells you that your pitching was extremely good, because that lineup's formidable. There's no question. So, I know this time last week we talked about Robinson Cano. Looks like he's soon going to be a San Diego Padre. You did say that somebody would give him a chance.
Yes, I did.
I guess there's no risk really involved here. I guess there's all reward, because, if he at the league minimum, whatever that is, you're paying him. If he bats 250 and hits a few home runs for you, you're pleased with that.
Sure. They're a National League team. Now they've got a DH to go along with their other Yankee DH, Luke.
New villain, Luke Voigt.
Why wouldn't you take a shot at a guy like that and see if it's a funk? Like we were saying about all these prospects, it can happen to Robinson Cano too. And
I guess when you got to really realize, he was off all last year, so he's probably going to have a little rust. But the only Billy Martin Sr. crony left, Buck Showalter, he didn't give him much of a leash. So I do trust Buck a lot. I do trust Buck a lot.
I do too. And I keep thinking about this one, but I wonder, Buck coached him many years ago.
Okay.
And I think about things, Buck remembers what he looked like over a decade ago.
Right.
He had a lot more bounce in his step right there.
Yeah, that's true.
So the hand looks different. Everything looks different. I mean, and I don't know if that's 100% Buck's decision.
I think that owner's got a lot of pull.
Oh,
baseball decisions. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm still waiting to see. We're gonna see Scott Boras, crash into a semi one day because of the analytics played a role in it. How many hard hit balls did he have? What's his exit flow been? All that stuff's going to come into play too.
Didn't it surprise you though what an American League team? But he's familiar with the American League. Now he's going to a new league this late in his career. I know they have the DH in the National League this year, but to jump leagues this late, that's going to be. That's work. It's not going to be like he's just going to get up there and start raking from that. He's going to have to do a lot of study on a lot of pitchers he hadn't faced.
Man, well, hey, that's easy now. They've got so much video and it's all laid out in front of him. Yesterday. And it wasn't in real time. It was pitch, boom, stop, next pitch, boom. I didn't have to wait for him to do this and get ready for the next pitch. It was neat. And it had the velo of the pitch, what the pitch was, what the count was, it was like, wow, man, they're making it so easy that how lazy our scouts could be 10 years from now.
Well, we got into I wanted to start maybe a segment, once a month. We'll say the teams of the month. And I just say we'll do like the top 5 here. And I started, it was really a toss up between the Dodgers and the Yankees. And I went with the Dodgers. The reason why I went with the Dodgers, I think their schedule's been a little tougher than the Yankees. Yankees got a little fat there in the middle part of that year, beating up on some lower ends of their schedule there. But the Dodgers, the reason I have them there is their lineup is sick. And I know that they'll go get a starting pitcher at the All-Star game, to go along with Buehler. It just feels odd to be talking about the Dodgers and not having a great starting lineup pitching wise. It just seems so odd. It's such a misnomer to me to say that, like, wow, the Dodgers starting pitcher is not as great as, it's been. But I mean, that lineup's just ridiculous. And I mean, they're not going away anywhere.
They're not getting what they should be out of Uriah.
Mm-hmm. And there was concerns of him in spring training about his miles being, his miles on his fastball were down, and we thought that he would get stretched out by now and that would come back up. I mean, there is some concern there. There's no question.
Well, and look, you got a kid like Tyler Anderson, who's into a 3 ERA. That Kershaw fella, he's okay.
And don't you look down the road here thinking that you may get as a fifth starter, maybe as Dustin May to come back from his Tommy John surgery to be maybe somebody that can be a spot starter at least, as it goes down. I mean, obviously you're not going to stretch him out too much, but nice to have that and see if you get anything out of him this year.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I mean, everybody comes back at a different clock,
Sure.
They had a guy yesterday or day before, Ryan Peapot. I'm probably mispronouncing Pepiot. He started in 3 tryouts, 0 runs. He's got a nice 0 ERA in the big leagues. And, who's ever even heard of this guy? I mean, they're the Dodgers, man. They do a great job. They've got one of the most under-heralded baseball executives named Ryan Hunsaker, Jerry Hunsaker, who used to be the GM of the Astros back in the Bagwell, Biggio, Berkman days.
Gotcha.
And he was out there, not gonna badmouth the guy that stabbed him in the back, but who also became then the worst GM in baseball history. But anyway, he left straight from there to go to Tampa. And suddenly Tampa came good. First week he was there. He made right with the first. Tampa. So Tampa's turned into a pretty good squad since he left there, and he went from there to the Dodgers. And you hear about him.
My second team, we already talked we talked about them with the Yankees. We talked about the pitching depth. I think that's kind of a difference. I have them at number 2 this year. This past month, I've got the Mets at 3, and I say timely hitting, and Mr. Alonso is having a great start for them. And that little shortstop that got booed in New York all the time last year, Mr. Lindor is having a great start to the season here. He's smiling again, Billy. And when he's smiling, he's playing.
Yeah, no, they're clearing cylinders.
And the Buck effect.
And in a way, it feels like they're almost still figuring out bullpen. And so, yeah, I believe they're going to be around all year, and it's going to be neat to see. I mean, look, they got a 4-game lead. Excuse me, they got a 6.5 game lead over the World Series champion Braves. So pretty impressive.
And to go to that Yankee team, if you looked at the standings, Yankees are 11.5 games in front of the Red Sox. 11.5. We're not at Memorial Day, Billy. They're 11 and a half out. There needs to be a shakeup over there in Boston because right now, that was one of my surprise teams going into this year, and they've not played good baseball at all. I mean, their starting pitching has been very spotty. They're not hitting. I mean, Story's not really hitting for them. Devers is, he's been okay. And
Devers been pretty darn good. He's been clutching.
Mhm.
I think their bullpen's been their biggest lead.
Yeah.
Obviously.
They blew that big game on last week. The bullpen came in and gave it away again, and that wears on you mentally. That wears on you mentally.
It doesn't continue like that. But it sure doesn't feel like their year.
They will get a shot in the arm when Chris Sale comes back. I do know that, so that'll be like a trade maneuver coming here. But as great as Chris Sale is, can you trust him to pitch every 5 days? That guy's been battling injuries now for the last 3 or 4 years of his career. So, I'm not saying hit the panic button, Beantown.
They got an awesome future too. Mm-hmm. They really have good.
Yeah, they called somebody up the other day, and that's young player that his name is I listened to
can really got some light tower power. They got a kid named Duran who's a center fielder. He's been up and down a little bit. That he'll be their center fielder when they're winning their next postseason game. I'd bet both of those guys will find a way in the lineup, and they got a couple good shortstops. Their future's bright. It'll be interesting to see because Hein Bloom came from Tampa, their general manager.
Okay.
And so, but they don't have the patience in Boston they do in Tampa. So it's gonna be neat to see how that shakes down and what moves he makes. Does he Billy Bean it and throw the young guys out there, or they keep grinding?
It'll be interesting, and then they'll have a real big decision to do at the end of the year what they're going to do at shortstop. Got a pretty good one that's a free agent right now, and you can move that second baseman over there to play shortstop if he's not back. So how do you want to use your monies will be really interesting for the Red Sox going forward. Quickly, I'll do number 4. I've got the Padres. Hosmer and Manny have been the stories there. Your best player not going to be playing for the first 3 months of the season, and you guys are still out there raking and doing. And that starting pitching, not bad in San Diego. I didn't think that they would play as well as they have out of the chute.
And they just got Clevenger back. They've really been disappointed, I think, in they were hoping to be their closer. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of struggled there.
Definitely been a mixed bag.
With one of these things, and they'll figure that out. But they just got Clevenger back. I was watching with Ray yesterday. Might have to say that might have been the worst look I've ever seen. Long hair. I don't love the long hair, but toenail.
He looked like the Messiah on the mound. It was a lot of hair everywhere.
And he's got a great arm. He also does this.
Yes. Or Woodstock.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, come on. The dance and the ponytails. But just got him, and he had a pretty nice start for a guy that's been out for a while. When they get all their arms healthy,
depending on where they're at in the standings, they may go to a 6-man rotation like my next team, the Angels are. The Angels are on a 6-man rotation. I think a lot of that has to do with Ohtani, to try to, not pitch him as much and be in the lineup. But I got the Angels at number 5, and then I said the reasons because Trout is Trout again. and you got a healthy rundown. We haven't seen this since he had that run with the Nationals 3 years ago when they won the World Series. He's been hurt the first couple of years out there in California land. So you put him in that lineup behind Trout, that's a pretty darn good 1-2 punch right there.
Who has 3 better hitters in a row in Major League Baseball than those 3 guys? I mean, that's pretty impressive. Like you said, they haven't been there yet. I love the 6-man rotation for any team that's got a Japanese starter, because Japan, so he's not your other guy.
Right.
And that's who you prepare. That's why I think so many of them get here and break down, because their body's used to pitching every 7 days, not every 5 days. So yes, it can make you happen. And
the ball's not the same size. People don't realize that. Ball's different too.
I start going a little deeper in this, pulling them in the bending all the time stuff, and get those guys a little more rest and a little more continuity on where they're going to be.
Yep. I agree. We do appreciate you guys listening to us, and we would love for you guys to subscribe for us. Just press the like button and make a comment for us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. We appreciate it. Like I said, you can tell us we don't know what the heck we're talking about, or you can tell we're great. We don't care. Just make a comment. We appreciate that. And I like to end this with the thumbs down and the thumbs up. And we kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier when we mentioned Joey Votto. Thumbs down to the Reds organization. I'm not quite sure what that owner is trying to do over there. They're on pace to lose 126 games as we speak today. And I mean, you really got to work to lose 126 games in a year, Billy. I mean, the record is the 1962 Mets. I believe they were 40 in 120 for an expansion team. Now, let's remember, it was an expansion team. If that didn't send Casey Stengel to the grave, I don't know what did. I mean, Casey Stengel probably won 40 games in 2 months, with the Yankees back in the day. But I mean, this is what the Reds have done just in one off season, Billy. They have traded Sonny Gray away, Jesse Winker, Suarez. They lost Nick Castellanos to free agency. I mean, they were in the COVID year. Remember, they were in the hunt to get the playoffs. That's just 2 years ago, Billy. I mean, it's asinine to me how they have run that proud, storied, the longest tenured baseball team ever. And now it's just an afterthought.
Funny how people used to bring my and then she got a World Series trophies as an owner, and found a way to win. I don't know what's going on there. They hired a friend of mine, a guy named Wayne Krivsky, years ago. Only real mistake Wayne made was trading Josh Hamilton to the Rangers for not probably enough, but that was kind of a perfect storm too, because Josh didn't do very well. He was good, but anyway, he didn't even get a shot. He really was just there 2 years, year and a half, it felt like, and Wayne's a baseball man. He's a guy. He was one of the so he traded half a season of Jay Brzezinski to the okay. Because Twins are great, they're closer. Pass and catcher that getting hurt, and they only had a long-winded point, and he earned it, deserved it, and but he got it on. And I don't mean have maybe one this there's going to be some moron, some guy that's good at making gambling lines or something that's been talking to this owner about what they're doing, because yeah, that to go from a competitive team like that to this
makes
come on.
no sense to me. And his son, his son is the VP of operations. Listen to this quote that he did last week. Phil Castellino, the son of Bob, the owner, he was asked on a local radio station why fans should remain loyal to the team after 2 seasons of cutting costs. His answer was this: well, where are you going to go?
Okay. Hey ho, way to go, Ohio. Yeah, that's
So the water hose didn't have water, it had gas in it when he put on it.
start calling them the Red Stockings again. And yeah, if you think about it, Red is the kind of Russian slur, you know, that
Right.
and
It's unreal. Unreal. I just said, I just feel bad for Cincinnati Red fan right now. It is May, 11th or 12th, and the season is beyond over already. I mean, you might as well bring every minor leaguer that you think is good and just say, roll the dice the rest of the way. That's the only thing I think that can get Cincinnati Red fan excited. And again, as I said before, Joey Votto, he needs probably a nice long couch to sit on and have this person sit there with their crossed legs and take notes, because I need to know how he's doing this, because he's been through this so many different times as a red player.
Yep. Well, you're right. Keep him around. And he is one of the more interesting guys to ever listen to about hitting. And let's do what you said. Let's bring kids up. Let's throw them out there. At least you have an excuse for losing.
And you get the one thing that they're not getting right now: MLB experience. Can't replace it. Can't replace it. Get those clocks ticking. For them to not be here in 5 years, but you might as well start those clocks, because if they're any good, don't buy a house in Cincinnati is what I would say. If they're any good, rent. My thumbs up for the week, man, it's got to be Tom Brady. He wins the lottery again. How many times has he won the lottery in 21 years, Billy? I mean, I was pushed over by a feather when I saw 37.5. I thought just 37.5. I didn't realize there was no point. $375 million contract with Fox for 10 years. He's never been in front of the mic to do it. And you're giving him $400 million, Billy.
Well, remember, it's because oh, wait a minute. Super Bowl.
I said he hit the lottery when he got 6th-round draft pick, and Bledsoe gets hurt, and he wins the Super Bowl in that run. Then he signed big contracts. Yes, he could have gotten more. He won the lottery when he married that model. She was already filthy rich to begin with. He retires. He comes back 40 days later to get more millions. And then he says, I got to think about my future. I'm going to get 375 more million. I just want one $5 million lottery ticket. I mean, but you know what? He's earned it. He's earned his keep in this world. If you want to pay, if you're going to overpay somebody in the booth, do it for somebody that's won 7 Super Bowls. I think that's probably a safe landing. And I have a feeling there's going to be a few people that will just listen to hear what Tom Brady says.
Yep. I'm one of them. The guy's just done nothing but come through in the clutch his whole career. And, you know, what are the chances of any of us ever seeing anybody you know?
Well, I look at it this way. Tom Brady hasn't, us American, we really don't know a whole lot about Tom Brady. He's kept a pretty private lifestyle, even though he's in the highest position of all time, and and is married to one of the best models that ever graced this planet before. He's kept it pretty private. He's going to have to show personality here now. We're going to get to know Tom Brady a little bit with the mic. Is he witty? Is he sarcastic? I mean, we're going to find that out about him now.
I'm sure he'll tell him, come on, Tom. A little up there now.
and is he going to be critical of some of his former teammates and players that he played against? That'll be the interesting side.
Because he played till he was 50, and we're still not done yet. But I did for so many years just hear that he really wasn't that good. It was all because he was part of the Belichick system. And I think if nothing else, he's proven that maybe he was the system. I really believe that.
Does he finally get to criticize Belichick in that first game back and Belichick makes a bad move?
Oh,
juicy. Oh, well, hey, guys, we definitely appreciate you guys listening to us. I tell Billy every week, it's my fun hour of the week. Talk sports, my man Billy over here. Balls and strikes is always my favorite segment. Billy, appreciate you giving me an extra day here. I'm suntan and blue. I'm suntan. I'm ready to go attack the world now, so I feel all right. We will be back with you guys next week with Balls to the Wall, episode number 35. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.